So, welcome everyone. We're going to get together. And get together is what we do always 1 week ahead of Walk the Talk. And Walk the Talk is the big parade where we honor 8 people in the community with a big brass band and a 15-minute performance. Harold Fletcher started to come together. We did this many, many years ago before we, actually was sort of the origin of Walk the Talk, when we did Utopia and Dystopia. And we were asking people in the neighborhood to talk about what they were doing in the neighborhood, and then those people invited new people, and we did a whole series of those in 2007, 2006, talking about gentrification and actually saying like there's a community here and we don't want this community to disappear. And see what utopia looks like on the backs of people that actually live in that community, right? And that's why we started gathering all the cool people in the neighborhood and having them talk about what they are doing. So we've been actually doing this for many, many years. And also that's why the newspaper came from, because Harold always made a newspaper about, which was sort of the program of the Come Together. In your newspaper, you see all of them, the selectors and the presenters. That's your program. And it has a sort of format, because we cannot spend like huge amounts of time because everybody can talk for a whole presentation the whole afternoon. So we're gonna do like a 3-minute introduction, then we have like a 7-minute presentation, and then we have 5 minutes for Q&A. That's how it goes. First of all, I want to show you that Hike here, sitting here, he made the portraits for Walk the Talk. And I think they are gorgeous. They are? Yes. Wow. Yeah.
Best I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. With love. He made them with love. You can see it. Yeah. And all these people are going to be, all these people have been interviewed. All these people, from the interviews, we made a performance. We are going to honor them next week, Saturday. We're starting here with Clancy at the museum. And there she is. Oh my God, she's hiding. Yeah, so that is what's happening next week. Now this week, Alice is here, and Alice made, well, actually her daughter did a lot of work, portraits of the people that are being honored today. Yeah. Very nice, Studio 526. So I'm going to hold up the portrait of the first person who's going to present. And you can keep your portrait.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it's a present from Studio 526. Thank you, Alice. The first person is Michael Hubman, Waterman. But he's going to be introduced by John.
Okay, well, so Michael Hubman is a one-man band, and he's more than that. But he, I think everybody's seen him in the neighborhood carrying around a jug of water and a bunch of cups, not plastic bottles, although no. Way before people were doing mutual aid and stuff like that, this guy was doing mutual aid. So he has been an intrepid, I was going to say warrior, but really peacebreaker, and just doing amazing work, and without a lot of fanfare or overhead. He's the low overhead guy, the guy who just goes out and does it, and I think everyone's come to really appreciate this approach. And the other thing, of course, is that he was really instrumental for people who weren't around when they tried to make it illegal to serve food to people. He was one of the people who stood up against that and got those shameful people to back off of their shameful, crazy ideas. So, to hear more about it, here's Michael Hubman.
Hi there. Yeah.
I'm Michael Hubman with Right to Share Food and Watercorps. And when I wrote my bio for the paper, I left out the beginning of my humanitarian work. I'd almost forgot about it. But in 1970, I showed up at the original Los Angeles Free Clinic to volunteer. And I thought it might help a conscientious objector claim to keep me out of the Vietnam War. Well, they put me in the pharmacy and provided me with some on-the-job training, and it did absolutely nothing for my claim, but I stayed on anyway. And I later became the director of pharmacy at the Harper Free Clinic in San Pedro. So that's how my humanitarian work got started. It didn't have a completely altruistic bent, but it turned out that way. I will use this opportunity to thank all of the people who helped me along the way when I started my charity work in Los Angeles. I did a lot of reaching out and looking for support from my newfound peers in the do-gooder industry, and I was frustrated by the perceived lack of success in getting this support. In retrospect, though, all I have to do is look at this great list of all the people that did help in the end. So, tied for first place in the direct support category are my fiance and life partner, Dory Kong. She's right there. And my dear friend and founder of Arts District Healing Center on First Street. They were a cannabis cooperative. And that was James Shaw. And so Dory provided me with all of the benefits of being a life partner. And furthermore, I had a little black credit card which provided a huge amount of gasoline and creature comfort to go along with it. And while in the field, James from ADHD gave me a home away from home in Los Angeles. When my car blew up, he gave me a car in exchange for some lobbying, and that led to my debut as a professional public interest lobbyist. I also became the resident humanitarian at ADHC. In the Brothers in Arms and Sisters in Arms category, I'd first like to name Los Angeles Community Action Network, LA CAN.
All right.
I didn't exactly find the direct support I was looking for. However, they quickly helped me to become a political animal in the struggle for social justice, human rights, and civil rights. They also gave me the opportunity to support them with water at their many extensive field activities early on. When I attempted to start the Independent Charities Union, some of the first attendees were none other than John and Henriette. And also you from World Agape, and Catherine from the Catholic Worker Here Beginning came to my very first event trying to start the Independent Charities Union. I wanted to give special recognition to my long-term partner, Robert Uncle Bo Jackson, who worked alongside me and for almost the entire run of Watercorps, giving out almost as much water as myself. I also want to recognize Gary, who provided a stable and monitoring influence at Gladys Park, which I call Watercorps World Headquarters, while the park was being managed by SRO Housing. Gary was the first official presence that I encountered when I showed up at Skid Row with the water, and Gary made me feel welcome. He also gave me the name Waterman. There was a trucking company, Olarte Transport, that wound up with a room full of bottled water, and the owner, Sebastian Olarte, called me up and said he wanted me to give away his water. So I started to do that, and then the people that didn't pay their bill and took the water. But instead of just leaving me hanging, he gave me a great big check. And there was also a fellow from Irvine named Bob who was interested in water issues. I met him through Dory's Bridal Shop, And he also gave me a big check. And I'd also like to thank all the strangers that gave money to Watercorps. I'd like to acknowledge Sub-Zero Cold Storage and Georgia the Jungle's cold storage, both of them on Stanford Street, who managed to chill the water. Also, my friend from ADHC, James Shaw, also made the use of their cooler to chill the water. So we had that, and then there were all the demonstrations and events that I had the opportunity to provide water for. For instance, when the Women's March after Trump was elected, the high school walkout for environmental, and the day the Nazis came and we came out to demonstrate, we were all there giving out water. And and Occupy. We were there for the length of Occupy. So without further ado, here is the list, and that would be LA CAN, Los Angeles Poverty Department, World Agape, Catholic Worker Hippie Kitchen, Hunger Action Los Angeles Chapter ACLU, Food Not Bombs, ADHC or Arts District Healing Center, Monday Night Mission, Just at SAGE or the Social Action for a Just Economy, Occupy Los Angeles, and the Activist, LA Activist, an online publication. Thank you very much. Roll the music.
Is there more to this format, or are we on to the next one?
Playing the music that Michael wanted to play, and then we have questions.
Okay.
Crosby, Stills, and Nash, Daylight again.
Oh, good.
Years ago, how my fathers played. I think I see the valley covered with gold and blue. All the brave soldiers that cannot get over me, asking after you. Hear the master calling from Armageddon side, where everyone's talking and no one is listening. How can we decide?
Sing along. Right.
Is this a time for questions? Or, yeah.
Yeah, we will. Cause everybody breathe out, buried in the ground. Mother Earth will swallow you. Lay your body down.
He's got answers if you've got questions.
Go ahead.
So, just listening to your background, if some young person, or they wouldn't even have to be young, came to you and said, you know, there's this issue I'm really passionate about, and I really want to now focus to see how I can help, but I don't know what to do, what's the first thing you would tell them to do?
Just do it, and also there's nothing wrong with an ad hoc approach. to go after a problem. And it doesn't take a lot of people, it just takes somebody to make the beginning.
That's right. That's great.
Yo, Waterman, I
Yo.
remember you, man.
Hey, thank you.
You know, you got a real story. And I just like to say, I thank you.
Oh.
You know, like you said, you did help somebody with water. And I'm here to witness that, yeah, you helped me with some water. I didn't know you, now I know you.
Oh, wow.
All right. Well, thank you for the recognition.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I like the recognition as well.
Go ahead.
I'm reminded of all the migrants that cross to come to the United States, and all they want, I mean, they survive if they have water
Right.
given to them.
Yeah.
So it's a long history. My question is this, because we were out there protesting against the Nazis. How do you pick your project that you're going to give water to the participants?
Well, like in my bio, I was a rainbow, remote family of the living light, and and they did something after Katrina that they'd never done before. They mounted an organized relief effort for Katrina. And so that prompted me to start a charitable organization, and I was looking around for that opportunity or that disaster to happen, and then I just remembered that there's a disaster in progress right here in Los Angeles, and that's how I decided, that's how I was able to form Watercorps. One day I showed up on the 16th of October 2006 with water and cups, and it went on for 14 years after that.
Where at, specifically?
Oh, specifically, it was San Pedro Street and 6th. That's where I made the very first cup of water.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay. I think we have to go.
Okay. Thank
And I know a couple of people were confused, as I was, with this guy in the suit, but then I realized it was Michael.
Who's this person? Sean! And Steve is going to introduce Sean together with Eric. You have two people that are going to introduce you, Sean. Sean. You better come up here.
Hi, everybody. How are you doing? My name is Eric, not as he, him. If you know Sean, he has quite a big personality, so he has two presenters today. I first met Sean in 2011 at the first week of Occupy LA at City Hall. And within the first few minutes that I knew him, he was loud, he was extremely opinionated, and he didn't like the cops. And we knew at LA Can that he was going to fit right on it. And that's what he did. And a lot of people were involved back then during Occupy. People came, there's a lot of volunteers, a lot of energy. We're right here on Main Street. And there was tons of folks that came in through Occupy. But over time, little by little, people go back to their lives. People go back to their lives, go back to what they're doing. For better or worse, things kind of settled in. Sean stayed. Sean was the one, when he came through, he stayed. And as he stayed, he only got deeper in his work, whether it would be starting the community garden right here at 530 South Main Street, and then the garden that we have at LA Can now, doing work with LAPD, obviously, doing community skits and guerrilla theater for our actions, cooking our food for our rock meetings. We had a band together and we performed with Tabia at Downtown DWCH talent shows. Sean was always down for whatever, to do whatever it took. Less talk, more work, get it done. And so that inspires me, and I'm really, really proud and honored to be able to share a little bit about that, and I'll pass it to Steve to finish it on up.
Yeah, just real quickly, Sean is basically what I would say the epitome of walk the talk. He's walking the walk, he's talking the talk. As Eric shared, right? Sean not only contributed to stuff in Skid Row, and now is also developing to the point of where he's working in other communities. So he's now actively supporting in Venice community housing, sort of being a monitor in affordable housing development. He's also actively involved, sort of taking off golf which I had to put it out there just because oftentimes people talk about self-care and don't sort of link the different types of self-care, right? And golf is something that Sean has indulged in, and I'm constantly reminding him of that. But honestly, yeah, like with everything Sean has done, I felt it was really important as we're talking about documenting our histories and our struggles to really bring someone who has been here for over a decade at least, and really give them the opportunity to sort of tell his story. So Sean Gregory, come on.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Sean.
I am jittery. I had coffee, and I probably shouldn't have had it on an empty stomach. Wow. This is why I really like acting, because people give me my lines, and I don't have to think of something to say. I came to California. I caught a train from Birmingham, Alabama, back in 2010. Didn't really have a plan, had about $100 in my pocket. I didn't really know how I was going to make it or what I was going to do. And that ushered me down to Skid Row, where I was living as an unhoused resident of the community. And like most people who are in that position, we get harassed, arrested for existing in the public. I'll never forget one of the first times I had met LA Can before I really kind of knew who they were. Short of knowing, damn. Okay, first time I saw them in action, let me say it like that. We were a part of the Occupy, left Skid Row, we got put back to Skid Row after they shut it down. And so not only were we homeless, but we were people who were organizing against the powers that be, so we were persecuted in a way. There used to be a very serious enforcement of 4118E. So if you were not on your feet at 6 a.m., you were likely to be arrested. And it got to the point where the cops would line up on Crocker Street, 4th and Crocker, because our encampment was on 4th and Town. So the cops would line up on Crocker like 5:30 in the morning. And at 5:59 and 30 seconds, they would start rolling around. And they would hit that corner at exactly 6 a.m. And who wasn't on their feet went to jail. They didn't even run your name, they just put you in cuffs and took you in. So I'm in handcuffs, I'm cursing the cops out, saying every mean thing I can think of. And then I see green shirts coming around the corner with cameras. And I'm like, oh shit. Ooh, this is the first time people really had stood up for me. And I was like, damn, that's awesome. And of course, General Dogon and I got to talking when I first met him. And acting is like my biggest passion when I can find time to be a part of it. And LA Can, what was her name at LA Can? Michelle? She had that, like, she was getting her bachelor's, so she was doing a theater thing.
Oh, right, yeah.
You know her last name, or? Oh, you forget, I forget too. Anyways, so that was my gateway into LA Can, was with acting. And then as I was around, seeing all the great work that the committees were doing, the housing committee, the food, the civil rights and all that, I got more and more and more and more and more and more active.
Yeah.
Great.
Did you finish something?
I'm so lost right now, I'm just trying to make it seem like I'm not. Anyway, well, I'll tell you, that was what? Math, numbers. 2011 versus 2024. 13 years ago, I've been around, and I do work out in Venice now, but I still try to make it by LA Can on my days off, which is Monday, which is perfect because that's when the Civil and Human Rights Committee is, so I am still active as I can be. I would love to come back to the poverty department and do a show. I have to talk about the logistics of that, but I'm going to wrap it up right there because I feel like I'm sort of mumbling and rumbling now. Thank you. Are we doing questions, or is that it? Do you have a question, or do you want to know anything I didn't talk about? Yes, Tom.
So, with all you experienced and learned and gotten involved in Skid Row and Occupy, now shifting over to Venice, which has its own amazing network and history, et cetera, can you name one thing or maybe two things that you felt you had some insight and wisdom on that maybe they needed to learn from you?
Oh man, Tom, that is a profound, very deep question.
Is that Sean or something else?
That's Poppy.
That's the answer.
Learn from me, wow.
Yes, Sean, you
What
want to
could they learn from me? I've honestly learned so much more from this community that has bettered myself. So I was with LA Can first, and then I went to the refresh spot, and then I worked for the county as the harm reduction specialist. Then I went back to LA Can, and then I went to Venice Community Housing. And that did not at all answer your question, but that's the best I could say from the spot.
I got one.
Okay.
We have a newcomer here. Let's open our arms up to him. I want to ask a question, really facts back to him. You're 13 years down here, and you see the situation down here. What do you think can change it and help it?
What do I think can change it and help it?
Yeah.
Defund the LA Police Department. Take all the money that they're putting into sweeps and put it into housing, permanent supportive housing. Fuck the police.
And hunger and answer the housing there.
Mr. Pancake, do you have a question?
Yes,
I do like these people.
I have a question for Sean Gregory. Okay, beautiful people. All right, Sean, on your first day of the job in Venice, what really stood out to you? Your first day on the job, Venice, and how was your first day? Your experience the first day? Can you shed some light on that?
What stood out to me was the fact that I was so fortunate to have that position, to come from living on the streets for years and years and years and years and years and years and years, to be in a position where I could support other folks with mental health challenges and make sure that they have the opportunity to keep their housing vouchers and make sure that they have the support that they need. There are some challenges there, but they are some really, really good people. And the fact that I'm not so much different from them, there's no, it's not like staff versus residents. I am pretty much the same as they are. I have my own ways of dealing with my, what could be considered mental health problems, but we're all out there together. I'm fortunate enough to be in a position that pays me, that keeps a roof over my head, while I provide support to have them keep their housing over their heads.
Good.
That's you, Sean. You kill them kindness.
Sean,
Sean, how's that bass doing? Yeah.
It's gathering quite a bit of dust lately.
He's too busy. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you. Oh,
We have more questions.
Oh, one last question.
You also are the stage manager extraordinaire for the festivals for the past many years. So how has that been for you, and what have you learned? What did you learn in that aspect of your life down here?
I've learned that I have a lot of patience.
That's right, Sean, you do.
Thank you.
All right.
Y'all know this is, right? That's Matt Horn.
say his name. Say his name.
Matt Horn.
Say his name.
Matt Horn. Ashe y'all. You know, we send love and blessings to Matt Horn. You see, he got his wings, right? So he's in a good place. You know, you want to go first? Let me go first.
Go first, Ray. Ice has been broken.
Ice has been broken.
Go for it, Ray.
All right, I'm going to talk about Brother Matt. I met Matt in 2016, 15, 17, working with LA Can. right? Los Angeles Community Action Network. And while we was working there, Matt was the gardener. Now, Matt, this guy, man, I'm gonna tell you, Matt is lovable. You would get, you be all right, Matt. You be like Matt. Then you be like, all right, Matt. You know, but Matt was a good dude. He knew his trade. He knew.
Yes,
he had a thumb like this and it was green. He did not like rats.
No.
Anybody?
He knew what to do about it.
He knew what to do about it, right? He knew what to do about it so much, had us scared as hell. Anyway, man, you got too much that. But hey, I ain't gonna get too more. No, Matt, man. Oh, and another thing this is a touching part because Matt passed away, right? And also I know Matt. I met Matt before I met Matt in LA Can. I met him with another friend of mine who passed, and y'all probably remember him, Frank Melton Pot.
Right.
Remember? He played in
Frank Foster.
Frank Foster. He played with them, right? And so a couple of times we used to go out there and play in Studio 526. Yeah. Go get us a get us a recording session, go jam. And that was he played bass. And he played very good too. You know. It's my first time in a minute speaking about someone who I knew that passed. Because normally when I speak about people in the past, I do it with a glass of water and a plant. But in still law, I just want y'all to understand that Matt was a good man. He knew his plant. Anything that somebody say, hey Matt, can you do this? He's gonna go and find out what to do. Yeah. He's a researcher, man. He showed me some tips on the research. I guarantee you that. He did show me some tips on researching. And what I can say about Matt? Uncle Fester. Matt had an uncle, I ain't gonna say like Uncle Fester in a bad way. Matt had a part about him that, you know, when he do his thing, he's doing it. You know? he's doing it, and he maybe ain't got no, he got blinders on, right? So he's just going straight. He's focused. He's focused. And he may understand that he may knock something over or something if you don't get it. You know, and sometimes me and him, we be working together. And oh, wait a minute. you making us work even more. But, man, I have big love for Matt. You know, I'm going to pass it over to
Matt Horn. You know, rest in power. What can I say? Matt was very knowledgeable, a scholar. Say, Plant Lives Matter.
Plant Lives Matter.
And with Matt, everything he can name is knowledge of plants, of gardening, was very impressive. Like Ray said, a researcher. Matt was truly an artist also. I'm going to share an experience earlier before the completion of LA Can, that project, before the completion of LA Can. Team Food, we used to be called, now it's Food and Wellness Collaborative. I want to start out with a kind of not so pleasant memory, but I remember, no, you got to laugh. It's all right to laugh. Matt would have you laugh, you know, okay. One time we were in a meeting, team food meeting, and I sat down, Matt sat next to me, right? So I laid my cell phone right here, right? So guess what happened? Matt scooted back. Oh! My screen was shattered! Oh, no. Maybe it was my fault. I shouldn't have put my cell phone. But anyway, that was one little memory I had of Matt. So, you know, that screen, it can be replaced. It's material. So no problem. He probably didn't know. I didn't bring it up to him. Matt probably didn't even know. I didn't say nothing. Oh, it happened. But Matt, an awesome so awesome spirit, the experiences that we had at LA Can, you know, with Ray Lou, the marketplace, and my data, Todd, and Ray Lou, Todd, and Matt, you know, the three heads together, you know. There are times when I sing get real intense. Ray Lou would come. But, you know, Matt, you gotta carry the load, you gotta do your part, Matt. So really the expertise, if you're around Matt, you know, you would become a better person. You would learn something. You would learn, every day you would learn something new from Matt. The musician Matt. I know the biologist, but the musician Matt. I remember that the Urban Voices, right, Tom? Where you at, Tom? We had the performance, you remember, with Urban Voice, and what song did Matt do? Remember, Chris? The Rolling Stones. Tom, remember? Matt performed, and that was his... The coffee house, yeah. Coming out of COVID, that was the first opening with the opening. We can all, the stand place was lifted. So Matt stood up there on that stage. And it was his passion. He said it was always his passion, you know, to sing that song by the Rolling Stones. I forgot the name of it, but Matt, he sounded so good. That night I had a chance to meet his wonderful dad.
Oh, yeah.
Hugged his dad and his sister.
Oh, wow.
And that was a magical moment. Matt introduced me to his mom and his sister. You know, our relationship was very unique. There's a time when we took a trip from LA Can, we came over to the Spring Street Garden. And we had to have a buddy system. A buddy system. So guess who was my buddy?
Matt.
He was my buddy. I couldn't get too far ahead. He couldn't be walked too slow. I had to have my eyes on Matt. Didn't want to get lost. Come on, Matt. Come on, Matt. But we had a buddy system. We had each other's back. So all that Matt Horns meant to me, our experiences, like Ray was saying, rest in power of the knowledge that he imparted, that he shared with us, is still here today. Yeah. It's still there. Like Ray said, he didn't like what? He didn't like what? He didn't like what? On the roof, he didn't like what? What's the name of that road?
Rats.
Ah, Matt did not like, he did a little trap. The traps that we set on the roof there, unique traps. You know, we had a
He made a game out of it.
Yes, he made a game out of the trap, so.
He really did. We were joking about that.
He was a unique guy. Remember the Urban Voices? I don't know if I mentioned that. So
Yeah.
Community man. So
Wildlife agency.
he wore a few hats.
He worked for
I
the
like
Wildlife
Frank Smith. Yeah.
The World Federation of Wildlife Agency.
Yeah.
Yeah, before he came with it.
Oh, yeah. And he always looked forward to the Strawberry Festival, which I believe it's happening right now, right? In Ventura. The annual Strawberry Fest, Matt would take a trek up there. He would take a trip every year. So they remember he had a speed planet over there too.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take too long, but
Yeah.
let's give it up for Matt Horn, everybody. Let's give it up for this guy. Let's give it up for this guy. So me and Ray, we was gonna like just do this together.
I need to take a picture.
Do anyone have any questions?
I was wondering how the rats were processed after they were captured.
Well, we have to recycle bins up there. It's a way to, you know.
Live capture or cop trap?
I can answer all those questions if y'all want to know.
No.
Well, I guess everybody doesn't want to know.
Well, yeah. He listen, what Matt did, he knew what he was doing. We just didn't know. That's the thing. We didn't know what he was doing because his knowledge was far. And about the rat things, yes, he got rid of the rats. The rats was eating a lot of the food. He got rid of the rats, and he disposed of them. You know, when he catch them, we put him in a trash can, and he had put the trash can inside another trash can until the dumpster get it done. And I don't know about all that, but hear more of that. And what else thing about these rats? I wanted to share a story with you about the rats. You know, one time, the rats got so bad, it did. It's, I don't know if y'all already know, it is a problem with rats now. It is a real bad problem with rats now. You know, when I was homeless down here, you know, rats used to take people drugs and stuff. And that was a real thing. Really, that was something that you hear, you know, that was something that you hear the rat take. But anyway, Matt came up with a very unique technique of how to get the rats out of Ellie Can garden. He made some kind of little white solution or whatever, and he placed it around. The rats came up, and we seen them, we picked them up, and they were gone. Seriously, they disappeared. There was no more rats upstairs. And I don't know about now. Anybody know about now? But he did get rid of rats in that again. He did do that. Any more questions?
He was teaching me about the birds before he got ready to talk too. And I remember him, and I will always remember such a sweet spirit that he always had.
Anybody else real quick, and then return back. Tom.
Yeah, I'm just the memory, the main memory I have of Matt is when we would do Urban Voices project, he'd just be sitting there with his bass, totally focused, like waiting for direction, not pushing forward. Oh yeah, I'm going to just like focus, and as soon as Leov or whoever was leading the music, like bring him in, boom, he instantly hit the right moment at the right time. And until he got that direction, he just sat there totally waiting.
That's right.
That's Matt.
I see that.
Yeah, I remember some great times.
Anybody
in
else?
the studio.
That's it. Well,
That's it.
let's give it up for Matt Horn, everybody!
I'm just gonna read Young Me's bio because she didn't want to put her bio in. For the past year, Young Me has been facilitating 3 series of 10-week restorative art workshops at the LA Missions and Douglas Center as part of an artist grant project. This relationship of providing art workshops at N. Douglas Center began more than 10 years ago as a volunteer member of an arts advisory committee. Creative Community Art Space, a collaborative group of Skid Row artists and art advocates, was birthed in 2018 out of LAMP Arts Program, now Studio 526. The need to create this collaboration was spearheaded by the late, also Keith Jackson, a very talented illustrator and thoughtful artist at LAMP. Along with Linda Lee, Queen Mama Tabia, Garrison Alexander, Clancy Cornell, who's also here, Ian Hunter, Kim Burns, and Young Me Chi. With the passing of Keith and the changes in members, locations, and availability, the more active few members, Young Me, new member Wendy Vizcara, do I say that right? And Queen Mama Tabia have continued to carry out the original vision of providing safe, creative opportunities for the Skid Row community. Thank you so much. And I can tell you, you know, she does that everywhere. She comes here when we have the open mic, she just puts up the table. And the last time I loved the last time when she came with ink and some branches, and we were painting with branches in the ink. It was really beautiful. I love that one. And every time she has a new idea, it's just really beautiful. She shows up at the festival. I think in almost every festival you've been at. And she just does it for 2 days long. Every time a new idea. You are creativity yourself. Can you tell us a little bit more of how you do it?
Thank you for those kind words. I don't want to talk too much about myself, but just very quickly. Yeah, I mean, it stems from my love of Jesus, my commitment to my relationship with God, and I literally asked I don't have a whole lot of talents. What can I do with my artistic talent to help and to share the love of Jesus? And I just decided I'm going to say yes to whatever opportunities come my way. And that's how it started. With at Genesee, a domestic violence shelter, and just seeing how making art brought so much joy to people who were so tired, emotionally exhausted. Made me think about Skid Row. And that's when I was reminded of Studio 526 or Lamp. So I just called them up and just saw what a beautiful, loving community, Hike of course, created, and how there's so much creativity and love in this community. So I think, just with my committed time of just wanting to bring whatever, and just Hike support, and all of this community, just opening your hearts to me so that I can come in and share and just be extensions of the love of Jesus. There's just so much love in this room, so I can totally tell. So I want to invite you to something different, because I think the best way to learn is through actually experiencing something. So if I can have maybe like the first row stand up and come on this side. All right. And then everyone on that side, just stand if you can. If you can't, you can just remain seated. Okay, it'll just be like a quick fun exercise. Okay, so we're gonna go around, say your name, and some truth about yourself, and maybe a fun little gesture. So I'll start. The rest of you copy me. So say my name out loud, and then do the gesture and whatever I say. So I'm going to say young me is, and one or a phrase that kind of speaks about who I am. Oh, good. Something that's important to me. And then I'm going to do the gesture. So you just say it back to me, and also repeat the gesture. And we're just going to go around and have everyone do it, and we're all going to do that for everyone. So it'll just be a beautiful way for us to hear each other and to affirm each other. Okay? All right. Okay. Young me is free.
Young me is free.
Wendy is a union activist.
Wendy is a union activist.
Alice is creative.
Alice is creative.
John is embraced by this community.
John is embraced by this community.
Tom has great t-shirts.
Tom has great t-shirts.
Henry runs sound.
Henry runs sound.
Pancake is beautiful.
Pancake is beautiful. Clay practice voodoo.
Clay practice voodoo. Raymond says, I am fearless.
Raymond says, I am fearless.
Hike wants to politicize community.
Danny is mischievous, huh?
Danny is mischievous.
Diane.
Diane has been greeted with much love and kindness today.
Diane has been greeted with much love and kindness today.
Harriet loves you all.
Harriet loves you all.
Waterman says, thirsty like a drink.
Waterman says, thirsty like a drink.
Jaye Jaye is indecisive.
Shipment.
Dory is a very forgiving person.
Team Mama Tabia says peace, y'all.
Mama Tabia says peace, y'all.
Jaylani is chilling.
Thea is an aunt.
Tabia's an aunt.
Onifa is superwoman.
Stephanie loves to sing to all of y'all.
Stephanie loves to sing to all y'all.
Sonia C. with the can and the crate.
Sonia C. with the can and the crate.
Teresa has to use the bathroom.
Teresa has to use the bathroom.
I am Steve, and I disagree that Tom has the best t-shirts.
I am Sean. I'm ready for a shot and a beer.
I am Eric, and I can't touch my toes.
I am Eric, and I can't touch my toes.
I'm Roma, and I'm in 8th grade. I'm Clancy, and I'm busy but happy.
I'm Clancy, and I'm busy but happy.
I'm Matt, and I'm an overthinker.
Jeff.
Yeah.
I'm Jeff, and I serve Jesus Christ in the poor.
I am Jeff, and I serve Jesus Christ in the poor.
What about the babies?
What's your name? The little one. What's your name?
King.
Jay?
King.
King.
Very nice to meet you.
King. Nice to meet you. Huh? What did you say?
I can play your toys.
You can play
I'm
with toys.
king and I like to
Play with toys.
Everybody!
I am king, and I like to play with toys.
Thank you, King. And did we forget you?
Yes.
I was in the bathroom. Oh, okay. Can you do a movement?
Well, I am going to, but I'm going to do a chant.
Okay.
Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
All right. So, are there any questions? Yeah, there, Matt.
I'm curious, a moment in your life where you realized how creative you were, if you maybe have a story where creativity was one of the gifts you mentioned you're being very clear about for yourself.
There is one moment, but it's sort of embarrassing because when I was 8, my friend's mom took us to this palace in Korea, and we both drew this little pagoda. And I looked at my drawing and my friend's drawing and realized mine was better. But it also made me too prideful. So, but it also made me feel special.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my
Thank you.
There's a question. What's your name again?
Dory.
Dory. There's a question.
Is this one drawn by you?
No, by Alice's daughter.
My daughter, yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hey, Clancy has a question for you.
Young me, I just want to say I love you so much. You're so amazing, and just it's been so cool to get to know you over so many years. And as Henriette was saying, every time you come to the festival or contribute anything, it's almost like it's always different and always new, from like stencils to hanging things to name art to how do you come up with all these endless ideas? Obviously your own creativity, but like tell us about your process. I'm so inspired.
I just think it's God, because I don't know where they come from. I look at a lot of things too for inspiration, but I think it just sometimes I just want to do something different and new. And Hike always encouraged me to bring something different because artists are already used to what they already make.
Right.
So yeah, I just feel like it's God giving me inspiration.
Yes.
Turn around. I'd like to say, young me, I think that you're a really, really great person.
And I need to have Chris Mack here because this man is Al Ballesteros, who said he would be here, but he is the busiest man I have ever met, I think, in my life. So I understand that he maybe didn't make it, but Al Ballesteros is the executive director of JWCH.
Yeah.
And Chris has been there for years and he knows him very well. So Chris, if you can say some, not only introduce him, but present him.
Well, I've been there for a couple of days.
Yeah.
So let me first of all give you my first disclaimer. No bunnies were harmed in the making of this presentation. I always want you to know that every time you see me. No bunnies were harmed in the making of this presentation. Al Ballesteros, wow. So Al Ballesteros got to Wesley the same time I did, but he was working for Waterman and other companies, right? That was in the healthcare business. And basically in 2003, the real idea of healthcare was basically addressing the HIV issue. When I got to Wesley, I was working on the HIV project, which was called Harper, helping out the alternative for reducing the risk for HIV. When Al Ballesteros got to Wesley, there were 200, 300 people working at Wesley. But what's so unique about Al Ballesteros is we talk about homelessness, but we always forget the real root cause of homelessness, besides being poverty, is a lack of opportunity for employment. And so I always like to understand homelessness is a social-economic condition brought on by policies and politics of people with means. It has its roots in abject poverty. And a lot of times we cannot forget the idea that what does it mean to be disenfranchised? But when you give a person an opportunity, you actually franchise him into socializing in his own life. And when a person socializes in his own life, he becomes his own resolve. He becomes his own person, a champion for his life. Al Ballesteros started with 200 to 300 people working at Wesley. He now has over 1,200 people working. And if I don't think that that is the greatest idea, is to have people actually working for a living, or working, because when you work and you do things for yourself, you build up your own esteem. You don't have to go buy it. You don't have to have nobody tell you about anything, because now you feel it when you get that paycheck. You feel it when you are able to buy some things that you want. You feel it when you're able to do these. Homelessness is a complex problem because we as human beings are complex. It's not complex because of any other reason, because there are no experts in homelessness. And so we have to start realizing that, the thing that brings a community together is the love that it shares when it shares all its complexities. And when we share those complexities together, guess what? We actually build up. When I see the same usual suspects when I come to these gatherings, I'm inspired. I'm not inspired with thought, I'm inspired with love. I'm inspired with a feeling that I have inside of my heart. And so when you have somebody who is not only working on the solution, not from a geopolitical idea, but you're working on the solution from humanity. And we keep on using words to identify ourselves with. How come we never say we're human beings? And if the subject of being a human being is really what matters, then why aren't we experiencing the spirituality of our own matter? Because, let me tell you, we forget that we're all spiritual beings. We forget. And we always discuss the matter from some archaic label that we found somebody calling us. I just came back from a conference. And the conference is the National Health Care for the Homeless. And no matter how you try, you're always going to have this implicit bias. They went from homelessness to people with lived experience. And I said, well, that's kind of ridiculous. I said, because guess what? Here you are, you traded one label for another label that still disenfranchises. And so why can't we just say we're human beings? Yes. And why can't we start acknowledging our humanitarianism? Yes. So I see everybody that gets, and they show up for these events, they actually give a lot of themselves. Not a little bit of themselves, they give a lot of themselves. That's why this room is always filled with inspiration. That's why we're always being healed every time we come together. Because the healing comes from us, for us, to us. And we keep on losing sight of the preciousness that we truly are. Because we're an example of the Creator's passion. We're an example of the Creator's love. We're an example of all of those things. So, now, excuse me, busy. But when you start having people working, right now he's got people working at the Cecil Hotel. And the Cecil Hotel is one of those Netflix ideas of all the goodness and the goblins and all of that other stuff. But the people are actually making money so that they can take care of their livelihood. And so he's got 24 chairs that helps people to come in and resituate their lives, and then they pass them on to another interim housing, because now they're doing the one thing that has always been missing in this condition. There's one thing that's always been missing, and I'm going to tell you what that is. Personal assessment of the individual is the most important thing that needs to happen. And once we start assessing the individual by his faults, by his strengths, by his things in life, then we can get that person to be his own champion. I can't carry nobody, I'm sorry, because I don't know what you got on your mind. But when we do the individual assessment, we'll be able to say, oh, okay, your skills is like this, you need to build up those skills, and those skills need to be built up. But that's the way we love each other. We don't love each other just by throwing and giving things to them. We find out who we're dealing with, what we're dealing with. And everybody deserves a chance to express themselves in life. And so I leave you with love, light, liberation, joy, and peace.
So Wesley is really big and has been getting bigger. So Al is the CEO of the nonprofit, but it's got like maybe 10 clinics throughout LA County. And of course, what we're focusing on is 5th and San Pedro. So my question is, since he needs to divide his time and energy and love and passion and expertise throughout the county, can you give an example of something that really is down to earth in terms of him and Skid Row?
Come over here, Tom. Shoot. Stop messing with me. And Tom is messing with me. See, Tom is on the board. So, you know, you should have been up here. I had anxiety coming up here by myself. Thank you, Tom. So, you want to address that question, Tom?
I was actually thinking you would have a better answer than I can go on.
Yeah, but we can share the answer.
Yeah, he'll, and these aren't like surprise visits, like trying to create gotcha moments, but he'll just walk down, very unassuming, low key, doesn't bring an entourage, he doesn't necessarily let you know he's showing up. He'll just kind of walk through the clinic and just observe things in just very low key way and just chat with people. And it's not like, ooh, the CEO, well, some people like the CEOs that are start behaving. But that's not the vibe he's giving off. He's just like walking through and just
saying hi to everything. What can he do? A lot of times he just want to know that question. What can I do to make this better? And Tom is right. Like I said, Tom, you've been on the board for a long time now.
2 years.
Huh? Yeah, Tom's been on the board, and I believe in the people. And you know, he actually has a heart for the people, and that's right. He's got 39 locations throughout the county of Los Angeles. And so sometimes it's kind of like difficult to split up that time. But when he comes to CCH, he walks down Skid Row just like everybody else. So, yeah, thank you, Tom. Come on.
You.
Leave Tom up here, don't let Tom go. You know, I needed to ask Young Me, how about that popcorn? Because nobody knows Young Me makes the best popcorn, on Skid Row. I remember those Friday nights, after everything was done, Young Me would have that popcorn. That popcorn would just hypnotize you. You'd be sitting there listening to the music, eating Young Me's popcorn and patting your feet. Did you ever do that, Tom?
Not necessarily in that order, but I do remember that your popcorn is on this.
Yeah, so, and then Alice, Hyde, John and Anya, you know, if you want, if this condition ever had some people who actually make a difference every time they show up, you know, it's everybody in this room that I know personally, that I see and I walk with. You know, these are the champions that I see. These are the champions of my life. These are the people that make me, you know, want to go to that next level, you know, of understanding. Your love is, I don't know how to say. You're teaching me how to love at the same time you're loving me. That's a phenomenon. Because I really appreciate the love you've given me over these couple of days. You know, when I talk about a couple of days, I've been down here for a couple of decades. You know, but I've never had this kind of love in 71 years. So thank you for teaching me and helping me to love better. And it's a part of myself that I need to know. And you guys help me know that. So thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. One more question.
This is to Chris. Chris, exactly.
Wait a minute. Okay.
Exactly how many bunnies were injured during this presentation?
No bunnies were harmed in the making of this presentation.
Hey, try using that. I'm gonna tell you something. You cannot talk about bunnies without getting somebody to smile. I see everybody smiling. You guys must have a relationship with bunnies.
How about the rats?
That's me. That's you! Matt Harper and Jeff Dietrich is here. Oh my God! And he's going to introduce him.
I'm so pleased to be here at LA Poverty Department with John and Henriette, who have done so much for our community on Skid Row, and to introduce Matt Harper, who has done so much powerful work with the LA Catholic worker community, serving the poor and homeless of Skid Row. Matt is a good listener. He listens at our community meetings. He listens to multiple perspectives in our meetings. He listens and takes notes. He listens to compliments. He listens to complaints. He listens to criticisms. He listens to our volunteers at the Hippie Kitchen. He listens to the cry of the poor who visit our soup kitchen. He listens to Jesus. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
He listens to the Gospels, which command us to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, shelter the homeless, comfort the afflicted, and afflict the comfortable. I am so pleased that you have nominated Matt Harper as a presenter. I am pleased to introduce Matt Harper as someone who listens as well as acts on the gospel commands of the Gospels. I give you Matt Harper.
Thank you, Jeff. And thank you all for this. When I looked at the list of people who won, I was really glad that I lost. In being in this room tonight, I'm really glad that I lost. There are some incredible people here who continue to pour their hearts and their sweat and their blood and their tears into Skid Row, and I'm honored to be a guest in the Skid Row community. And even though I've been there for 7.5 years, I recognize I kind of live in two different worlds. I'm so grateful to be able to work with the Catholic worker down there, and I know that my community is also somewhere else. I have other people I need to get and bring, and that's what we try to do with the Catholic worker. So again, I'm glad I didn't win, but I hope one day I deserve to be as remembered as these folks are and should be. So I want to look back a little bit for those of you who don't know about the Catholic worker so that we can look forward into who we are today and why does it matter. Thank God technology works well. Don't worry about that. So long story short, as Jeff said, our two priorities in the works of mercy are to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comfortable. I was one of those comfortable people, and enough people afflicted me enough that I realized I had a responsibility outside myself. And so for 54 years, the LA Catholic worker has been trying to figure out, what do we do? How do we belong on Skid Row? How do we be good neighbors? And it's required that we evolve what we do, evolve to meet the crises and the needs that show up before us each day, week, month, and year. And sure as hell, there have been some crises and some emergencies. So in the early days in the 70s, when folks who ran blood banks wanted to take more money away from the people who were donating blood on Skid Row, our community was part of a fight to try to protect the rights and dignity of these blood donors. We had Jeff lying underneath a bulldozer back during the Safer Cities initiative when they would plow through people's belongings on sidewalks. And when the city started crushing shopping carts that folks took from grocery stores, Jeff and folks bought thousands of shopping carts and gave them out to folks and sued the city when they took them and crushed them in their trash trucks, recognizing that we had a role to play. When there wasn't medical services here, they created a medical clinic, they created a dental clinic, they began offering foot care to people on Skid Row, recognizing that there are unique needs that this community has and doesn't always get met. When the violence and wars in Central America that the United States was backing brought refugees and asylum seekers here, Skid Row became a place of families in a way that it probably hadn't been before. And so they made a playground in a lot next to our soup kitchen on 6th and Gladys. They created a grocery store called Nuestra Tienda that was an at-cost grocery store, recognizing that the needs of this new community was just cheap food that they could prepare themselves and not the hot meals we always cook. So there was this constant awareness that they needed to do something to the present moment in crisis. And even when our Catholic Church decided to build a multi-$100-million cathedral in Los Angeles, as the Catholic worker, the community said, we have something we need to do in this fight. These are our people, this is our church's money, and they're neglecting the poor of Skid Row to build a building. Let the cathedral stand unfinished until all are housed in dignity, Archbishop Romero said. And so there's these central questions that I think we're struggling with today is what are we as the LA Catholic worker doing to meet the needs, the emerging needs and the shifting needs of the Skid Row community? How could we evolve our services or our support of others to do that better? Now for most of Jeff's 54 years of the LA Catholic worker, they had a couple more people than we have now. We're kind of a small crew, but we've inherited an incredible number of programs and projects. So right now we're kind of more in a stage of sustaining and maintaining the things that were built before us than we are shifting, expanding, and building new ones. But we're trying to answer this question of the folks who are showing up now, what their skills, what their passions, what their interests are, how do we bring that into the work we're doing? So how are we responding to the needs? We live in Boyle Heights in a community home. There's about 18 of us that live together, and it's folks who we've gotten to know on Skid Row who didn't have stable housing, and it's folks who run our soup kitchen, because one of the beliefs we have is while we need to be fighting to dismantle the institutions that keep people down, we need to be building the alternatives. And when you've got an empty bed in your house, when someone's on the street, that's your job to bring someone in, to build community, to meet their needs. So we do that together still. We provide hospice care for folks who are dying. We had 2 of our guests die last year, and we went to walk with folks the same way that during the AIDS crisis, our house was a bastion for folks who had nowhere else to go because their families wouldn't take them in. And so I'm so grateful to be in that tradition. And we run this beautiful soup kitchen where we serve, as Catherine Morris, Jeff's wife and our longtime community member says, we serve people, not food. We create a space where they can be themselves and honored and respected, where we will not call the police on them if they're having a bad day and if they're getting into trouble.
and where they can enjoy beautiful greenery and little fountains and birds that are not pigeons or rats, but a place where they can kind of let their fullness
Since
be.
when are rats birds?
They're like birds. They're in the same family. We also recognize we have to build this bridge with other communities in the world. So we present to schools, to churches, sharing about our experiences on Skid Row, what we have witnessed, and inviting people to build relationships with the folks we get to know as well. We do a house liturgy where we invite folks to come and bring, how do we bring the spiritual and the physical, social, political, economic pieces of our lives together. And we run a newspaper called The Catholic Agitator that tries to let folks think deeply about the work we're doing in the world that we're in. During this particular crisis of asylum seekers and refugees flooding to Los Angeles, we took in a family, recognizing that we wanted to be a part of the unique needs of this moment. So this family with their daughter and their friend lived with us for a number of months, and we tried to support them as they tried to get on their feet in this new place, and gave them a space where they could feel like they were at home and not just in a warehouse somewhere. One of the most important things I think that I love about the Catholic worker is the city and the county want to fund programs that work. And so sometimes they look at us and they say, it seems like you're doing something good. But we don't want to grow. We don't want to get bigger than what we can be. We don't want to get bigger than how we can perform the best work possible. And that's in relationship with the folks that we serve. So Jeff and Catherine have been there 54 years. They're sitting in the garden every day. They're not in a boardroom making decisions. They're not trying to figure out what the experts on homelessness are saying now about it. They're saying, what are the people saying and how do I listen to them? And so it's been an honor to think about how we meet the presence there. We've been a part of the Skid Row Now in 2040 coalition, fighting for new policies and zoning stuff that don't throw away the people of Skid Row, and we protest. We protest with students who are at LMU asking their school to divest from the war in Palestine. We're fighting for housing, saving housing, building more housing. We keep busy. We had, last slide, we had this meeting the other day and we said, what are the crises and needs that we see before us on Skid Row and around us, and let's just list them out. And then the thought was, let's figure out where our passions lie. And when we don't have the capacity to do all the work, because obviously we can't meet all the needs, who's doing the incredible work and how do we support them? And that's you all. You all who are holding other pieces of this struggle, the arts, the culture, the street sweep watches, the harm reduction work, and we think, how can we keep supporting you? So I'm here today to say we are honored to be a part of this ecosystem. We need all of us in this, and we're looking to continue to find ways to be partners with you all and to support the incredible work there, and to dream even bigger than we've already dreamed, because the shortage of crises are not, there's no shortage of crises, but I also think that there's no shortage of people who are just a step away from being a part of our work, and we want to bring more people in. So thank you.
Okay, Jeff, that's my favorite story. That day when Jeff climbed under that vehicle that was taken. Yes. You don't realize that day it was hot. It was 100 and something degrees, and Jeff just had enough of it. Not only was it hot, and he climbed up under there, but the kitchen was dealing with some bad behavior too. And so one thing about them, they never put people out, they never put them down, they just circle around them and keep them from, disturbing the other guests. But that day, Jeff, that's my favorite Jeff story. It was hot, and Jeff was on the concrete, under that vehicle. I seen this.
Good.
I gotta pick up on that same story because Walk the Talk, when we originally came up with the idea, we said, okay, we want a Hollywood Walk of Fame for Skid Row. And so everyone would have the star on the sidewalk. That required the sign off from the city council person and Central City East. When Estella Lopez saw that Jeff Dietrich was one of those people, she squealed, "He laid down in front of my
portrait.
And that's why we have a parade to So thank you, Jeff.
She laid down in the picture.
right, thank you all, appreciate it.
Being Mama Tabia.
It's an absolute honor to be introducing you. And I don't know if you guys know this, there's a cheat sheet that we all got. So, although you'll hear me speaking as well, it's like I wrote this, I'm very proud how I wrote this. So I'm gonna read this as the introduction. Before I do though, I've known Queen Mama Tabia for over a decade. Well, we can on our own time figure out the exact time, but, and I'm someone who really enjoys like being able to connect to different parts in history, especially when it's connected to a specific place, like Skid Row neighborhood. And so one of the many different aspects of of our interaction that I personally, like very selfishly, really enjoy is that Queen Mama Tabia can and is interested to take that journey to be like, oh yeah, and in 2006, and I started working in Skid Row in 2008, so before 2008, I mean, I only know secondhand, and Queen Mama Tabia is one of the folks who I know I can talk to, and I really have enjoyed talking to over the years about those connections. So with that, Queen Mama Tabia, painter, photographer, musician, writer, zine maker. Don't even start describing this person. Cuba, African diaspora, New York, Los Angeles, Skid Row neighborhood, the list goes on. Black mother, grandmother, friend, collaborator, outspoken about living with mental illness, making art and writing about it, and chipping away at stigma for herself and for others. Historian, as I noted earlier. Also a person who likes to have a floor-to-ceiling living history of photos, artworks, clippings on her apartment walls. You should see her apartment walls. If you get a chance, you're lucky. A most wonderful human being. This woman has been contributing to many spaces and places in Skid Row neighborhood for over 20 years. A lot of people know her, and everyone who knows her loves her. Yes. Tfu, 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 toward the evil eye, as my grandmother would say. Queen Mama Tabia has the most soothing presence, while also being absolutely real, absolutely honest, and absolutely open. Give it up to Queen Mama Tabia.
Thank you very much.
Oh my goodness.
Mama Tabia here. We're going to start with a raffle. Everybody got your raffle tickets? Who's going to pick the number?
Oh gosh.
Everybody got one, so.
Oh yeah.
How about King? King, come pick a number.
Oh. All right. King is going to pull the number.
One. One at a time. You got it? Okay, let's read the number. Oh. Right here. This number here. Okay, thank you. One is the last number. 561 is the last three numbers. 561. Anybody with a button right now?
561. I think it might be it. Is that it?
Yes. 749. 567.
Can I just say Henry is her son?
He's showing you how to do it. You go over there, pick a button, and you got a button.
Okay.
3 buttons.
Yes.
Okay. So in a time when most people and artists, I remember coming up, most groups were trying to individualize themselves. Like, for instance, Jermaine Jackson, he was happy singing with the Jackson 5, but he had to go ahead and get his own stuff out there. Me, I'm just the opposite. I belong to the Skid Row Artist Collective, which I'm supporting today. And I'm very happy to work with other people, other artists. I'm proud to be in this room with a bunch of artists right now and look forward to seeing the art and the creativity that even my grandchildren are pouring out these days. So I brought a table full of stuff for you to touch, look at, can't taste it, but you can read it, you can pick it up, and you can look at it, and you can ask me 50,000 questions about it if you like. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your love. And let's do one more raffle. Come on, come on, kids. Everybody wants to get a button. Let's do some more raffles. One. You got two? You got one. One? Oh, the number. Read the number. See that number? Oh, it is one. He's right. The last number is one.
One tickets.
You get one ticket, and the last three numbers are 581.
Where do I go?
Over there, you got a button and
What'd that say?
581.
We trust you.
All right.
Where do I go?
I'm just gonna do some more. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand. Yes, yes, Alice.
One of my favorite things that you do is your poetry. I love them. I know I've asked you what's your favorite one, but I wonder if you could tell everybody what's your favorite poem and maybe even share it with us.
Okay, my favorite poem. That's a good question. I have a real answer for that.
While the poetry book is coming up, I just want to plug a couple of other collectives. I love that you brought this up, Tabia. That Tabia has been part of Oasis Arts Collective. I want to say 2012, 2016, around that time. The Skid Row zine, that was like more like, yeah, some people in the room know it, yes. 2017 to 2019. Of course, the Skid Row Artist Collective that she's wearing the T-shirt, and many others. Fellow big fan of collectives.
All right. So my favorite poem, I'm going to dedicate it to the one that's falling asleep right now. The youngest kid in the group, my grandson, Poppy. I am going to dedicate this poem to him this time. Would you like me to do it on the mic?
Yes.
And not only am I going to do it for you, but if you want, you can take it home with you. There's nothing like a black man. God's gift to black women.
Yes.
Your lips, your gyrating hips, your strong back. There's nothing you lack. Your scent, your stature, your demeanor and style makes me tingle just to know I'm your pal. I love your voice. You're definitely my first choice. I salute you, dearest black man, and give thanks and praises for being able to rise up with you to our righteous place among the masses. I salute you with reverence and honor and all that is. God bless the black man true to the spirit of life. Bless his prodigy and protect his faithful wife. If ever there was a God-given gift for all mankind to unfold, the black man ranks high for all to behold. Thank you. I want mine first.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Beautiful.
All right. I want one. You want one too? Any questions?
Questions?
Any
Yes,
questions?
Stephanie. No, oh, she wants a poem. Question. Stephanie wants a poem.
I got a question for Mama Tabia.
And Ray has a question.
For my question?
Yes.
When we gonna get together with Joe? Oh, I got Doo for you, and I got Jimmy. Let's do something. Let's get us 3 songs that we can play all together, all the time when we together.
That sounds like a plan. I like that.
That's a plan.
That's a plan.
All right.
All right.
Are there more questions?
So usually my buttons are on sale for $2. I'm willing to give out as many as we can today. I'm going to restock Women's Speak is coming up. So it's time for me to get rid of some of these old buttons that I've been having for years. Okay? So you're doing me a favor if you take a button home today, okay? All right, thank you.
there are no other questions, I have one question.
No, I don't.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, what was I gonna say? Oh, there's so much stigma behind mental illness. And I wrote a poem for my sister. She's deceased, but she was a well-known poet. She did telepoetics. And I wrote it because, in other words, the question is, do you think mental illness is manufactured?
Manufactured?
Yes, it's a manufacturer of the status quo. Maybe I'm not saying it right, but living in this country and having the knowledge of knowing that my ancestors came from another place in time, and being here is a lot to handle psychologically. So that's what I'm talking about when I say mental illness is manufactured. I mean, how can you not have a little offness about your mind living here under the institutions? And so, you know, I took a class for mental illness, and I didn't like it. It was like they give you this book of DSM diagnoses, and I've come to realize at my age and my background and culture that this is a stronghold on people's minds. I mean, you can't help but kind of lose it a little. And I think that if people realize that, you know, then there wouldn't be, you know, so much. I'm just emotional because this is a beautiful place to be on this Saturday for me. My objective was to come. I'm doing a film class because I want to put everything and document my family history. But besides that, I chose the LA Poverty Department because I knew Keith. Kevin.
That's Michael Keith.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah. He lived a couple of blocks from me in Harlem, and he knows my sister, and so he invited me one time down here to see a play, and I really enjoyed it. So I picked LA Poverty Department because it's really a wonderful opportunity for people who are seeking to come together as a community, and it's very rare. And I wanted to ask if this can be a protege for other communities. But anyway, I'm just saying, you know, because I hate the terms that people use to describe someone who, you know, has limited function here in this society. So that's all I'm saying is, you know, it's maybe something that we can work together on to make it a whole lot better, because people are, you know, the institutions are just making money off of people and not really finding solutions to the issues.
You know, from way back here, when you say black man, it hurts me. Because I look at Obama, I like him. When he told me that black hat, when he said, Tom, I don't consider myself a black president that had no standing in law, I had to look at that. And I was in prison. And when I got out, he didn't do nothing, but he looked at like me. But what he did, one thing for me was say that. And I respect that. And I'm not black.
But I grew up with a lot of poets here in LA in relationship to my sister. And most of the poems that are written are about sisters in despair, but very few are written to enhance the black man, and I thank you so much for that. It really touched my heart. Yes.
I'd like to tell you a little story about how this poem came to be.
Okay,
And then we have to wrap it up. Someone in community with me, I found very challenging to communicate with. And I thought to myself, if I can learn to communicate with this brother, I can learn to communicate with anybody. And so we exchanged numbers, we went to different groups together, and one day he sent me a text, oh, the black woman queen this, blah, 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 blah. And what came out was, there's nothing like a black man. Word for word, that's why I don't have to read it. Because it came out of me.
Yeah.
It was a gift, and that's why I gave it away.
Yes.
Because it's not about who wrote it. My name is not on it, no. My Instagram, no. It's not about that, it's about the message to get out there. Because when I read it, the faces of most of the black men in the room, they just melt. And I enjoy dedicating it to everybody, to somebody, every time I read it, because I want them to know, yeah, I make a difference.
Yes.
I matter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Yolanda, one of Tabia's many friends, I'm sure. I want to thank her for bringing me to Skid Row and to the studio. I've lived in LA for a long time. I've seen people unhoused and have always been very angry about that. But knowing Tabia and working with her has kind of helped me understand more. I grew up as a migrant worker, very much on the edge of homelessness all the time. Mental illness runs in our family a lot. So we've gone through a lot, and knowing Tabia has helped me so much in my own personal and political life. And I just want to thank you so much, Tabia, for your friendship and for your art.
You're so welcome, Yolanda. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now, if we need Danny Park here, because Danny is going to introduce Tom.
Hey everyone, my name is Danny Park. I'm here to present Tom. If this guy is like everywhere. If you've been involved with the community, he's like everywhere. And so, to me, you're kind of like a wizard. Wizard of Skid Row. I'm going to read I'm going to read what was written about Tom, because it gives you a little scope of all that it's probably just the tip of the iceberg, but
the Viking.
I wanted to present this this wand. This is like a Harry Potter wand, but like instead of a map of Hogwarts or it's a map of Skid Row.
Oh, he's gonna show up at every meeting with his
With the magic and the magic at University.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God, thank you.
Oh yeah. Okay, so no one is more involved in Skid Row activism and trying to promote all that's good in the Skid Row community than Tom Grode. Through direct, committed involvement in the numerous community organizing efforts and staying informed, Tom has championed many issues. It will be difficult to name all the efforts that Tom has been involved with. He is like an ephemeral weaver of sorts, listening, involved, participating from the local to linking to macro historical perspectives and stories and causes. Tom is involved in political and artistic cultural life and development in Skid Row community through Los Angeles Poverty Department, Skid Row Action Plan, Skid Row Now in 2040, Urban Voices Project, Skid Row Community Refresh Spot with the Skid Row Community Improvement Coalition, to list just a few. He is an honorary member of the Gabrielino Tongva, one of the major native tribes in Los Angeles County. Tom is the co-founder of Skid Row Cooling Resources. So, yeah, without further ado, Tom Grode.
All right.
probably haven't given me much to live up to. So Clancy and your wonderful companion. So I'm putting Clancy on the spot.
Oh, no.
Because I've convinced myself it's in her best interest and not just because I enjoy doing it. So I want to start off with the Skid Row Action Plan, close with the Skid Row Action Plan, and if you've been to any of the meetings over the past year and a half, you know they all started out with a land and a labor acknowledgement. So Clancy will read the land, and your stepdaughter, she's cringing. I'm hoping she will read, she's almost breaking down. I'm hoping she will read the labor, but no pressure. But Clancy has to do it, you're an option.
Land acknowledgement. The County of Los Angeles recognizes that we occupy land originally and still inhabited and cared for by the Tongva, Tataviam, Serrano, Kish, and Chumash people. We honor and pay respect to their elders and descendants, past, present, and emerging, as they continue their stewardship of these lands and waters. We acknowledge that settler colonization resulted in land seizure, disease, subjugation, slavery, relocation, broken promises, genocide, and multi-generational trauma. This acknowledgement demonstrates our responsibility and commitment to truth, healing, and reconciliation, and to elevating the stories, culture, and community of the original inhabitants of Los Angeles County. We are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on these ancestral lands. We are dedicated to growing and sustaining relationships with Native peoples and the local tribal governments.
We recognize and acknowledge labor upon which our country, state, and institution are built. We remember that our country was built on labor of enslaved people who were kidnapped and brought to the U.S. from African continent, and recognize the continued contribution of their survivors. We acknowledge all immigrants and indigenous labor, including voluntary, involuntary, trafficked or forced, and undocumented peoples who contributed to the building of the country and continue to serve within our labor force. We recognize that our country is continually defined, supported, and built upon oppressed communities with people we acknowledge, labor inequalities, and shared responsibility for combating oppressive systems in our daily work.
If you didn't appreciate that your stepmom's a therapist, now you do. So this is the toilet lady. So, okay, starting off, in case you don't know, there's a multi-decade history with hygiene access in Skid Row. And I have what has been referred to as the Alice Callahan collection, which is not a fashion line, but it's many LA Times articles and letters, probably written on manual typewriters, to various government officials over decades, going back to the 80s and 90s, through Alice Callahan and the Catholic Worker, because this has been an ongoing human rights issue of access to hygiene. So what this is, so I'm talking about this because what I absolutely love to do is to bring the arts, creativity, and advocacy and activism together. So I was with maybe 15 people, part of doing a toilet audit that eventually was called the No Place to Go report. And like a 6-month process. And I went to John and Henriette because the festival was coming up. I said, look, there's this great work being done, didn't have a name yet, about really documenting how much hygiene access is there in Skid Row and what needs to happen. And it's got to be brought into the festival somehow. And Henriette said, oh, that would be like a toilet lady. And I had no idea what that means, but apparently there are millions of toilet ladies running around Europe. And so I said, okay, we'll do that. And she said, yeah, and so you'll have a table like next to the porta potty. And there can be like, air freshener and mints. And so yeah, get all the guys to help you with it. Now, shockingly, none of the other men involved in LAPD wanted to dress up as the toilet lady and stand next to the porta potty for an hour. I was amazed. So I ended up with the privilege of doing it for both days. And so what was asked was, what is the biggest problem with toilets in Skid Row?
how would you improve the situation? Got about 50 responses, typed them up, sent them into the No Place to Go folks, and it became part of the report that came out, got the front page of the LA Times. I didn't come up with this, I wish I did, it's a great statement, but the amount of hygiene access in Skid Row is below the minimum standard for a UN refugee camp.
Yeah.
So if you've ever heard of that, somebody found that out, and it was like literally the thing that the media grabbed onto in the No Place to Go report. So to me, that's a perfect example of what I love to do, and people love the toilet lady character, so I keep on doing it. Then we do an open mic here, and Lorinda Hawkins Smith gave a wonderful little tagline, where if the toilet lady shows up, if the toilet lady is here, the toilet report must be near. So I'm constantly updating folks on hygiene access in Skid Row. So that's really what I love to do. I love bringing the arts and creativity and advocacy and activism together, because some people probably enjoy reading a 30-page report filled with statistics. I'm like, let's bring that to life somehow, because I think a lot of people don't like reading that stuff. So how do you take that important information and creatively bring it to life? So that's the thing that really gives me a lot of pleasure. The other thing, and it's kind of almost the same thing, I love getting involved in planning efforts. I love planning efforts. We've taken it down to 10 recommendations. Now we want to take it down to 3 recommendations. So here's your red dot, put that on your first choice. Here's your green dot, put that on your second choice. Here's your yellow dot, put it on your third choice. Snacks are over here, go! I mean, I just love going through that process. But here's the thing I've discovered, and many other people have discovered, that's phase 1, the planning phase. The community input, the brainstorming, if you had all the resources in the world, what would you do with it to help Skid Row? All of that's fun and wonderful. Unfortunately, the day comes when that ends, and you enter the second phase, called implementation. I am committed to finding the fun in implementation. I have yet to find it. It's got to be there somewhere. I haven't found it yet. So, I want to give a shout out to Young Me and Hike, because in our open mics, Young Me brought sticks and black ink one time.
I know.
And Hike felt inspired. This is really nice if you study it. The rest room, the room of rest,
Yes.
which again is just creatively bringing up the issues of hygiene, the room of rest.
Oh.
And then, based on my visual art ability, I came up using sticks and black ink, a stick figure person, and then in the spirit of collaboration, Hike just came by and added a roll of toilet paper. So just...
Can you
What? Photo op? What?
First one. Oh, both of them. Yes. Thank you.
Pretty good.
So back to planning. I know some of you as individuals, organizations were involved in this. My first wonderful journey in planning, we won't even get into the implementation, was our Skid Row, a resident-driven neighborhood vision for a vibrant and equitable Skid Row. Awesome, awesome. I mean, if you want to be both inspired and depressed, go back and look at it. No, I'm being cynical. That was actually wonderful. 2015, 2016. And then Skid Row now in 2040, which is ongoing. And that produced, from the Skid Row point of view, what's affectionately known as the green paper. If you have not read this, I know there's still copies floating around. Please pick it up, read it. There's all kinds of photographs and visuals. It's not just reading tons of text, but there's lots of great text as well. If you want to read something, this is a wonderful thing to read. And then, that brings us to the Skid Row Action Plan. And what does it say on the front sheet? Implementing the Skid Row Action Plan. So if you want to help me find the fun in all of this, let's sit down and talk. So if you were part of the work groups, there's a little thing that says once upon a time, because each work group had to answer that question once upon a time, which is all once upon a time everyone had $1 million, and once upon a time the city wasn't corrupt, and once upon a time people actually listened to each other, and you could just do anything you wanted in your work group as long as you started with the phrase once upon a time. So this plan is wonderful. It's also about 100 pages long. This plan is wonderful. We have now officially, as of like a month ago, entered into the implementation. We're going to have fun. I'm not going to put the pressure on Steve to make sure we have fun, but yeah, the Steve guy outside who just walked past us, thank you, other Steve. But Steve is playing an important role in that. So for next week, if you know anything about the Skid Row Action Plan, you know there's a very important section called Economic and Community Development. So I'm going to put a placard together, and so when we're doing our marching, I will be marching. There's just a little sign, and that's all it's going to say. I'm not going to tell people how to do it or what needs to happen over the next 6 months. Just, hey, it's the Skid Row Action Plan, Economic and Community Development. So again, photo op. Well, who's doing the photo ops? You, photo op person.
I'm like photo.
Yeah, your photo. So next week you'll see me and anybody else who wants to do it carrying a bigger version of this. Okay, thank you.
Questions for Tom? Danny, on your team.
Do you have copies of the action plan? Do you have copies of the action plan?
Boy, did you just open up a can of worms. Steve, do you have any copies of the action plan for her?
I am not officially on work duty, but you're more than welcome to come to 601 South Maple and we'll print you a copy if you like.
You know what that is? That's a county space in Skid Row. That was actually a major decision that got made like 2 seconds ago. Great, thank you.
How about I leave you my email and you can send it to me?
Yeah, it's on a PDF. You can do that.
As long as you send it to me on Monday, you got a plan.
You can Google it, it'll pop up.
Okay.
The issue, it is available on PDF. The issue is,
I got 106 pages.
who's in charge of printing out that 106 pages and getting
Don't
some
worry,
copies? No. And make copies of it for the people who don't have access to being able to print out 100, because there's something in Skid Row called the digital divide. So that's why I say you just opened a can of worms. But great that you can get it. I would love for you to read it. I think it's an awesome plan.
It's a dense read, so you might.
It's a dense read. With lots of pictures.
The toilet report, did it include things like women's hygiene, like max pads and tampons, all that, or that's really important?
If you send me some information, it will next time. Literally, that has not been a focus up to this point.
We have it here.
It's a gender divide, yeah.
Yeah, that's the gender, yeah, right. Anything else? Anything else?
What about Fire Station 23?
Oh my goodness!
See? You open up a can of worms. That's a can of worms.
That's a can of worms, but that's also a wonderful example of another planning and advocacy effort. There's lots of big things happening in Skid Row, and if you want to plug into it at the beginning, that's pretty much planning and advocacy, and then you can track it out and get involved, and you can go really deep in it. Yes.
But we are meeting here. We are meeting here.
Wait a minute, Fire Station.
Yeah, the meetings are here. Do you know when the next one is?
Okay, but listen.
All right, if you want to be a part of that or be in the loop, give Henriette your email address.
Answer the question.
What? What's the question?
How many people are on Skid Row? That was where we left off when Weezer was gonna take it over to the Broadway and then we didn't go to that church. I never got the conclusion. This is like watching a series and you don't do the continuation.
That's a very serious issue. So what we're talking about here with Firehouse 23 is a really important planning effort that got very weird, where it got shut down for like 4 years. So the answer 5 years ago to that question is not the same answer as today, mainly because of the migrant families being brought in by buses, many of whom were at Union Rescue Mission. So it's a real sensitive issue. That's very important. And like the answer today and the answer 5 years ago is not the same answer.
What proposition was that they raised?
Proposition K.
And that
You quizzing me?
how old is that proposition again?
For about 3 more years. And all the money has to be spent, I think, by 2020.
How old is the proposition though?
From 1996.
1990. How? Yeah. It's been,
All right.
And how much money was actually raised?
And I believe it's 25 million a year since 1996, something like that.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
And who wanted to get in there and take that money?
Oh yeah, Jose Rizzo. We're talking about one of the many scandals that are always percolating. One of the many scandals.
I was watching Gabby filming me drumming in the park.
Oh, yeah.
I really loved it.
Oh, thank you.
I look forward to
Yeah,
seeing
that
her
was
film.
We have a question over here. Yes.
Just following up on the money aspect, what's the funding like? Is that going to be an issue for implementation? Takes money to.
Well, funding is a huge issue. The status of the funding, I'm not exactly sure. Steve, that would be, I believe, under the heading of transparency in terms of understanding what the funding status is. But you're not working right now. Yes, action plan funding.
Yeah, so because it's so really wide ambitiously, there's gonna be multiple times that we're gonna have to raise funds. In terms of the funds that we have secured right now, we have secured funding for some of the permanent housing solutions, some of the interim housing solutions, for example, the beds at the Grand who are now transferring into the Mayfair. And then we have secured some of the funding for a third-party intermediary so that other folks will be responsible for doing this level of sort of transparency, not the county, because we understand that it's really important that government not be at the forefront, because oftentimes government doesn't articulate the most information or is limited in the ability of the information that they can articulate.
I'm awarding you honorary master's degree in diplomacy.
Did you see that? That was so different.
Yes.
In all your years and everything you've done for the community, what are you most grateful for?
All of the fantastic work that other people have done that I either learn from or steal. Depending on how you want to look at it. I could not be doing what I'm doing, which is running around trying to connect whatever dots I connect if there weren't a lot of people doing a lot of great things. I wouldn't have anything to connect.
Tom, bring the wands on Saturday. The wands.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay, everybody, these were 8 amazing people, and the people that introduced them were amazing too. Can I get a round of applause?
Please help here. Sister here.
A house is not a home, and a home is not a house unless you're standing there.